My name is Rasmus Ronlev. I am a solution architect at ITS Partners, and this is a quick view on what's new in ITMS 7.6. The agenda for today is a summary of major new features, including a couple of demonstrations of agent-side features and server-side features that have been added and are net new in 7.6. Just to highlight a couple before we go into the demo portion, the new agent-side features include a new status pane that shows items such as if the agent communications is healthy, as well as when the last basic inventory was sent, when configuration requests were received, so on and so forth. It'll actually color itself in green if the agent health is assumed good on the agent side, or be yellow or red if there's issues found. Further, there's a log files tab accessible as part of the agent UI, and additional functionality is available for debugging if importing the AX agent diagnostics.dll. On the server side, features include stuff such as CEM support for third-party certificates, as well as OSX, and we now have remote control with BOMGAR, which replaces PC Anywhere. This includes availability of entitlement for BOMGAR licensing and virtual appliances. So if you need more information on this, that will be available by contacting ITS, as well as reading some of the Semantic collateral. Further, there's DS support for multiple concurrent Windows PE versions. Essentially, that means now you can load and have available different versions of Windows PE for different types of hardware. So you might have newer, older systems where a certain version of Windows PE is required. And there's support for 3, 4, and 5 versions of WinPE. There's also now UEFI support for 32-bit systems, and additional to that, CMS now comes with workspace streaming in this network streaming capability, which essentially allows streaming from a network share, not requiring workspace streaming servers. As far as features more directly related to the Semantic Management Platform infrastructure, now SQL Server 2014 is supported. We also now uniformly across both SMP, site servers, and Internet Gateway servers support 2012 R2. This upgrades the Internet Gateway to now support this platform as well. There's additional to that some UI enhancements that have been done. There's a Java-based IT Analytics Cube browser. We also have some agent health UI elements, some custom filter reports, and target folders. Further on that, new operating system supported is the newest version of OS X, so 10.10, which is Yosemite, Windows 8.1, new versions of Red Hat Linux and SUSE, as well as Solaris 11. And last but not least, this agent health check flipbook mentioned is that agent health underneath the UI enhancements highlighted a little bit extra. We will get back to that. With that in mind, let's take a look at the actual new features as part of some VMs. We will now look at the demo. First, I am showing you some of the new features in the Semantic Management Platform console. First up is what's now called the ITMS Management Views. Essentially, when I click Manage Computer, this is what I see. This also will be displayed under Manage Software, Manage Jobs and Tasks, and Manage Policies. It used to be what we called the Enhanced Console Views, but for this version 7.6, Semantic has rebranded this ITMS Management Views. Further, these used to be only added when installing actual suites. They now will be installed even when just installing the Semantic Management Platform itself. However, more functionality is added as we add or install additional solutions and suites. Some may already have looked here and noticed that in our computer list here, we see some new icons. There's a little check mark here on the icon in the first top two icons. And there's a little diamond with an exclamation mark here. Essentially, this little checkbox references this new agent health feature. The agent health feature essentially shows us a couple of different settings or informational pieces that capture when agent communications last took place. Some of you might have used configuration requests and basic inventory timestamps in the past, and while they certainly make up some of what constitutes good agent health, it also is any other agent communication that might have happened, such as a task registration or other type of communication picked up by the management platform. There's also a couple of different icons out here that will allow us to force sending basic inventory from the agent. This requires task services to be present and working. And the same goes for updating client configurations as well. And there's also a ping and a trace route option here. Now, if we look at the computer down here, which is actually a Windows P environment, we can see that agent communication hasn't been taking place for a while. And basic inventory has an offset that's much larger than the agent communication. And again, that is because we don't base this agent communication solely on when configuration requests or basic inventory took place. If this was a computer that was somewhat connected, it might be feasible to either request a client configuration update or sending a basic inventory. But as this is a computer that actually is not connected at this point, none of these options will help at this time. There is a place where these items can be configured, and currently it's on a day size interval. So you can do it as little as 1 day or increase it to as many days as you want for matching what your environment looks like. So if you have clients that sometimes are shut off, let's say over the weekend, you might want to increase this agent health duration to a couple of days. By default though, everything is set to 1 day. Another cool feature is if I go in here and expand the summary view for all computers and page out here in the options, we'll see that there's a couple of nice breakdowns, including an agent health breakdown. Now, in this system where we only have 3 computers, 2 of which is the SMP and the site server, and 1 which is my Windows P environment, we see none that are on track, which would essentially be something like a computer that's in the database but doesn't have the agent on it, as well, and that also would be an unmanaged computer. The exact differences at this point I'm not entirely sure of, but it'll give you a breakdown of each of these types. Further, if we click on any of these items here, you will see out here in the right hand side where it still lists the computers that are part of all computers computer view. If I say I just want to see computers that have a bad health, or need attention rather, I now only see the VMware computer item. And if I go in here and say I want to see which computers I have good basic inventory from, I will see the two, the site server and the SMP server. We also have something called agent communication profiles. The agent communication profiles allow us to set a good amount of settings and apply them to the agent configuration. This is visible underneath the settings for the agents and plugins and is used in a couple of different places. I will show 2 places. One, we see on the agent install, the agent install page, that if we do a push, it will utilize this communication profile. And also, if I was to go up here and say I want to see the Semantic Management Download page, it would use this communication profile I had selected. Now, I don't have other communication profiles. However, if I had, I would be able to click here and see the different ones. I would be able to click this option here and do different ones. However, since I only have one, it won't really matter at this point. The actual, also the same profile information is visible under targeted agent settings, under advanced. Some might remember in here we would normally type in the URL for the SMP server. Here that's essentially covered underneath my communication profile. The communication profile sits down here in this directory, and as we can see right now there's just one, which is the ITMS communication profile I have for this server. We can see that it uses HTTPS communicate with and has these two different servers. So basically my host name itself on port 443, which is the SSL port, and my fully qualified domain name, which is essentially ITMS 76rc.local domain. That is my domain name currently, again on port 443. Now this would allow us to set up different ports if that was useful for some reason. It could be allowing different kind of QoS from different places in your network environment or something else. Normally it will just be this one port, or a custom SSL port if you selected that. But you have some options there. We can enclose or encapsulate SSL certificates, and essentially we'll see that it has the certificate for the and the thumbprint for the server, and we can add additional certificates essentially by specifying a PFX file or multiple PFX files. This should be useful if you have third-party certificates and you want to distribute these as part of the agent, the client configuration settings. Further, we have a couple of different other options, connectivity credentials, and we can see where this is linked, and we could unlink it if we wanted to. The last little thing is an interesting change and addition in this version of the product, which is essentially now the Semantic Management Agent itself will not do any proxy configurations automatically. Rather, now we have to specify how we want these to be. So essentially here we can force out the type of proxy settings we want, and we can have different proxy settings for different communication profiles, and they can be targeted just like we can target targeted agent settings. So the imagination is the limit. Before I switched to the communication profiles is the filter report builder. When we're looking at a filter, we are able to expand the filter options here and pick this option, View Filter Results Report. Now, previously I had modified the default, which basically shows up just the computer name and the GUID. I went in here on the data classes and basically went into the AEX AC Identification data class that contains information about the computer, the operating system, IP address, and some other pieces of information. So to show that I can modify this fairly easy and save it out, I'm now going to change it. So I'm going to still show what OS name is and what domain it is. I'm not going to show the type. I'm going to show what time zone BS it's in. And I will show something like our OS version. So we can then see that that Windows 2012 R2 is version 6.3, and that my Windows VM here, which is essentially my Windows P environment, is 6.1. If I wish to save this, I will checkbox this and hit close, but as I don't want to save it, I'm just going to hit close, and this should prevent me from saving it, so that when I go in here again, it resets the report. So now it has the report reset to what it used to be, so I mentioned name and GUID. Now if I want to then go back and say something like, I don't want the GUID, I do want to see if it's managed, and I also want to go and add a data class. I want to add the domain of the computer. We had seen that that was under AC Identification. I believe I said the domain, so we'll add in the domain. And then I also want the IP address. Since this would be in another data class, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to find the data class that is TCP/IP, and I'll find the IP address. And then I'll also add the MAC address for the computer. And now, since I would like to keep this report the way I have it, I can click Save the Selected Columns for the All Computers filter, and it will essentially save this report for me as I go forward. As you can see, the formatting is what it is, and we don't have any filtering capabilities, so I don't have a search query that I can say only match computers with the name Pixie, other than I can put in that search criteria up here, but it matches across everything. The one cool thing I can do is I can export this and basically create a CSV file. So you can export the data in a CSV format if you so wish, and import it somewhere else for reporting purposes. We've now switched to the Semantic Management Agent user interface. As those of you that are familiar with it might notice, it has received quite some updates. I maximized it so we have some screen real estate to look at, but it absolutely is not required to be this large. The agent settings have moved. Where previously there were buttons like this, it's now moved to a tab, and we can also see that we have a logs tab. So these two pieces are actually new and unique, along with this status bar up here, which I will talk more about in a moment. We can see that we have some configurable options out to the left, including what sort of logging we want to perform for the agent. And some of these options, such as the logging options, should only be available if you are in an administrative context. I'm logged on to this computer or the site server as an administrator, and thus have these options. If I was logged on as a regular user, I would not have all of the options, although most of them would still be available. This is fairly similar to the options you would see previous to this agent version. Of particular like for me is the fact that by default we have this logs tab already there, and it will show the most recent log, and sometimes it will only show a couple of lines based on how much of that log file is populated, but at least it's fairly utilitarian, and we can pick other log files by adding them here, and then we'll have them in the list. For me, it gives a quick overview of what the current last couple of commands or actions that the agent has done is, and provides that. We have the usual software delivery tab, we have the task status, and we have the package server tab. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the package server in 7.5, I believe this was added in 7.5 SP1. There has been some serious UI improvements. We can search for packages, we can sort for packages, we can see what code bases are being offered, we can see the total size of packages, we can see the status down here, and we can filter on the statuses over here. We can even pick an individual package and check its integrity or reset the status of just this one package. Before we go up to some of these options up here, which are pretty self-explanatory, I just want to highlight this green bar up here. Right now it just says status OK. If I click it, we can see that right now it's not populated. But if I go up and say update configuration, which does a client configuration request, we can see that now it posts some status, and it will post some of the most recent statuses up here. And if I do a basic inventory, we can see that it adds that too, and it will basically tell us that it's collecting inventory, and it will tell us once it's sent, as we can see now. Out here to the right, we would then see what sort of different types of messages we have. Right now, since my agent is functioning properly, we see that everything is great, and it just has the informational messages. We might have problems registering with a task server, or it may not be able to send basic inventory, and these would change, and subsequently the color of this bar would change as well. One thing I wanted to add is another little nice agent piece, which is essentially that when we add in the agent debug DLLs, so this agent AX agent diagnostics DLL, we'll see that we get a diagnostics option up here. One of the cool things we can do is we can look at something like what network connections are on the computer, as far as what the agent is connected to, so we can see where it was last connected and the speed tests and things like that. And we can see something like what network adapters are in the computer, basically what the agent is picking up, what the DNS servers are, and so on and so forth. Now, just so you know, if we get tired of seeing this, we can just unregister it, and it will basically take this UI away again. And we are back to the regular agent UI. I hope that you found this demonstration interesting, useful, and that it's piqued your interest and you want to know more about 7.6. As always, you're more than welcome to contact ITS. We're always there, and we're always interested in talking with you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Here's a quick recap of information about myself. My name is Rasmus Ronlev. I'm a solution architect at ITS Partners, and information about how to contact us or me directly can be found below. Thank you.